This is your tech news briefing for Friday, December 10th. I'm Zoe Thomas for the Wall Street Journal. Amazon has upended brick-and-mortar retailers. It's changed the way we shop online, and now it's become a force in the labor market. The benefits and salaries that Amazon offers to workers have an impact on labor standards across the country. So, what does it mean for workers and for other companies looking to hire? On today's show, Sebastian Herrera, who covers Amazon for the Wall Street Journal, joins us to discuss what's going on and what it means for the broader economy. Staying in Europe, Amazon has been fined $1.3 billion by Italy's antitrust regulator for harming competitors. Regulators say the e-commerce giant favored third-party sellers that use its warehouses and delivery services. The fine comes as a similar investigation is being carried out by the European Union's top competition regulator. Amazon called the decision by Italian authorities unjustified and disproportionate, and said it would appeal. Speaking of Amazon, as the nation's second-largest private employer, its hiring practices are upending the labor market. If someone offered you a higher salary and a large starting bonus, you might be pretty tempted to switch jobs. Well, that's what Amazon is doing. Amid a nationwide labor shortage, the e-commerce giant is raising wages and offering new benefits to attract employees. And it needs a lot of them. It's nearly doubled its fulfillment capacity since the start of the pandemic. So, what does Amazon's appetite for low-skilled labor mean for other employers and for the workers themselves? Joining us to discuss this is our Amazon reporter, Sebastian Herrera. Hi, Sebastian. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, Sebastian, you spoke with a lot of people about Amazon's hiring practices, including one whose experience I think really illustrates what's going on. Tell me about Max Ramirez.
Yeah, his story really stuck out to me because he helps operate this warehouse in Lockhart, Texas, which is a small city in Texas. And one day he heard about this truck that was being driven around with basically like a billboard on it. And it was an Amazon ad that was advertising pay higher than what the company that he works for, which is Serta, the mattress company. And like soon after that truck started going around town, Serta at his facility there lost like a handful of employees, and that led them to raise pay, and they've raised it by a few dollars since then. So it was just like one of those factors that Amazon comes in, they have the name recognition and they're offering more pay than the other guys, and the other guys end up losing workers and have to basically scramble to match Amazon in any way they can. I mean, it also just causes all kinds of reactions of other companies trying to keep up, trying to offer other benefits if they can't raise wages, if they don't have enough money to, offering flexibility, things like that. And there's been companies that have had to go pretty far in trying to find workers. There was one company that had to fly in employees from other locations just to have enough workers.
Amazon, though, it does have recorded higher injury rates than the national average. There are reports of burnout from workers, and the company had to deal with lawsuits and a union challenge. So, how does that factor into their hiring?
So that's an interesting point because the moves that they make are somewhat in response to the high churn that they see. They see a ton of turnover, like 100% or more at many facilities. And so their model has kind of been they just kind of cycle through workers, and in times of need, like right now, they do basically make adjustments. But they also said like a lot of the people that they hire are actually rehires or people that leave Amazon and come back. But yeah, there's a lot of stories of employees just getting burnt out quickly and leaving. And some employees tell me that they don't think of it as a long-term job. A lot of it is just to get extra income if they need it. So Amazon has kind of built this system where it's very used to workers coming and going. And what's different right now is that they just have less people that are, I guess, willing to work throughout the country. And so they're having to offer more benefits, more flexibility, raise their wages. And they've introduced all sorts of sort of kind of perks, bonuses, and childcare, you name it, and they've kind of have tried it.
So we've heard from, employers about how this is affecting them. Did you talk to any employees about how they feel about, the wage increase, but maybe, some harder labor conditions?
Yeah, I did. So it's kind of a mix of stories and experiences of people that say it wasn't as hard as I thought, or yeah, I've heard about it, but I wanted to try it anyways. And a lot of people are attracted by the name of Amazon, just the name recognition it has, and that alone draws people to the company, which is kind of fascinating to see. And despite what people hear, It seems like a lot of them are willing to at least give the company a shot. And I think in their mind, the worst that can happen is they, go try to find another warehouse job, which right now is not too hard to find because, again, a lot of companies are looking for people.
And what's Amazon's response to all of this?
I think Amazon, in their perspective, they want it to be known that they're really trying for workers, they're really listening to what workers need. This especially came about after the union vote that happened in Alabama earlier this year, which Amazon won that election. But after the vote, they sort of came out with a message of like, we realize there's issues within our workplace, obviously referring to just the high burnout that they have and different workplace issues that they've had and why there's unions, pushing to unionize Amazon and why they've had government intervention and those sort of things. But they've basically tried to form this message of like, we're trying to listen to our workers and our employees in a better way. We've invested billions into understanding their needs and kind of deploying these different programs that we have, whether it's childcare, whether it's more flexibility for an employee's schedule. And so I think they're trying to really turn a new page in terms of that. It's questionable how much they can really change because, again, their whole system is built on getting us packages as soon as possible. And so that generally means that there's only so much you can do to change that system when, again, it's built on like speedy delivery. But from their perspective, I think they've recognized they have a lot of issues within these workplaces, a lot of workers that feel burnt out, and there's only so many employees in America they can cycle through. So I think they've are kind of taking a hard look at that, and at least publicly they've communicated that as well, and they have this whole message of wanting to be, Earth's best employer, they say, and time will tell if that's going to really be the case.
Okay, so there's only so many workers in America. Does that mean this system where Amazon comes in and raises wages and then they move through workers, does that mean it potentially is going to burn out eventually?
Yeah, I think there's a serious question about that internally at the company as well, of how long can this system be in place. Now, of course, there's a question of automation as well, and how quickly will that come along where you maybe don't need many workers. I mean, they've invested a lot into automation, into making their warehouses as automated as possible, and that's just going to continue. And so they might not need as many workers one day, but that's probably still far enough into the future where they are definitely having to think about this and having to think about the experiences of their workers more than ever. Not only because, they've continued kind of cycling through the American workforce, the blue-collar workforce, but also because they continue growing. They're much bigger today than they were even 2 years ago in terms of their warehouse operations. Even just during the pandemic, there's estimates that they've added more than 450 facilities across the country, and they're upwards now of 930 plus facilities across the country, which is just an enormous amount of warehouses to have and people to staff in these warehouses, which can have hundreds, if not thousands, of employees each. I think even by their own estimates, they said they're close to, if not about to, become like bigger than UPS. So they've essentially built a UPS within Amazon. So they've experienced a ton of growth, and they are going to keep needing, at least for the short-term future, a lot of people to staff in these facilities. And so it's something that they, I think, are thinking about a lot.
All right, that was our reporter, Sebastian Herrera. Thanks for joining us, Sebastian.
Thank you.
And that's it for Tech News Briefing this week. Thanks for listening and have a great weekend.